Dealing with so-called ungrateful people is something we all have to do in our daily lives. And so it makes sense to prepare ourselves for these situations and to learn to deal with them in a much healthier way. And there really is a way to do this. But first, let's look at what we would call an ungrateful person, or a situation in which ungrateful people show themselves, so to speak. It's when we do something kind, something nice to someone else, and they don't give us the reaction that we think we deserve or that we expected. They don't say thank you, they don't maybe even acknowledge it, or maybe they even take it the wrong way. But watch yourself rather than the other person when you're doing something nice, when you're doing the right thing. Do you really just look to do the right thing, or are you looking for more? Chances are, if you think someone was ungrateful to you, that reveals something much more about you than the other person. It reveals that you were not really only looking to do the right thing or the nice thing, but you were looking for something more. And that something more is praise. And because you didn't get your praise or your gratitude, you now feel slighted. You feel that you didn't get what you deserved and that you were somehow cheated. But if you were looking just to do the right thing, you've already done that. The other person's reaction or whatever consequence comes out of that shouldn't really matter. So now you know you have a problem. You know you're looking for praise and that you're not really just content with doing the right thing at the right time to the right person. And there are two problems with that. You might say, what's wrong with looking for some praise for doing something good, right? Because I've done something good, might as well enjoy the fruits of it. But again, there's a problem with that. Looking for praise is a temporary and shallow satisfaction, even if you do receive it. And even more importantly, it's something that someone else has to give to you. You cannot give it to yourself. Whereas the satisfaction of having done setting out to do the right thing and having done the right thing is all under your control, and the satisfaction of it is automatic once it's done. And whereas again, with praise or gratitude, we need to look to others to receive that. And if they don't feel like it, or if they're ignorant, they don't understand what happened, or they just don't appreciate it, we won't get it. And we won't get what we want. And it will have an effect on our happiness. And I hope that sounds like a recipe for disaster for you. And that's exactly the problem. And that's why we need to solve it. Actually, Marcus Aurelius talks about this. And I'll just read you a very short section of it. He says, one sort of person, when he has done a kindness to another, is quick also to chalk up the return due to him. A second is not so quick in that way, but even so he privately thinks of the other as his debtor, and is well aware of what he has done. A third sort is in a way not even conscious of his action, but is like the vine which has produced grapes and looks for nothing else once it has borne its fruit. A horse that has raced, a dog that has tracked, a bee that has made honey, and a man that has done good. None of these knows what they have done. But they pass on to the next action, just as the vine passes on to bear grapes again in due season. And Marcus exactly lays out the steps of a person from having no sense of what to do the right thing is, or what the benefit of that is, to the wise person who has used philosophy to understand what really is important and what isn't. And again, to come back to the idea of praise being something external. As long as you live in this way, if you don't divorce the labor from its fruits, if you always use the labor, in this case, the good deed, to get something out of someone else, this is a sort of dependency on others. If they choose to make you happy, you will be happy. If they choose for you to have the fruits, you will have the fruits, and no other way. And this leads to frustration, anger, disappointment, resentment, all these things that you don't need to have. So you're essentially, again, doomed to look for other people, which can only, at the very best case scenario, give you only 1/5 of a millionth of what you could give yourself, which is true satisfaction, true understanding, and the knowledge of having done the right thing. It's not only easier, it's much, much better. It's a much bigger joy. It's a much bigger satisfaction. And you just, as Marcus says, move on to the next thing, and it becomes a habit, a mode of living, rather than a constant yearning and hankering and wanting and needing others' approvals, praise, gratitude, smiles, thank yous, appreciation, affirmation, and everything else. What a convoluted, difficult way to live. And actually, just as there are challenges and opportunities, like we just discussed, in giving benefit, in doing the nice thing for someone else, there are also challenges and opportunities, benefits that we don't see in receiving benefit. So just like you yourself were looking to get something out of doing something nice for someone else, someone else might be looking to benefit you or to give you what you want just for something in return, but under the guise of simply doing the right thing. And that's another challenge for us, to not become entrapped, to not, again, be dependent on someone else, because you accept what looks like a gift or a benefit or a good thing, and all of a sudden you're in debt to someone else, whether you want it or not, because they look at it that way. And they can now label you ungrateful and really turn the benefit into a bad thing. So it's on us to look at people, to understand where they're coming from, and to not always jump to what looks like a good thing, but to first analyze it, really look at it. Do I need this? Who is this person? What strings might be attached? And to have the courage and the strength and simply the reason, the rationality to say, you know what, thank you, but no thank you. Sometimes to reject a benefit is the benefit itself. And I also want to draw your attention to people who we often miss in our daily lives, who have nothing to give, have nothing to benefit you with, but would love to do so, and they just can't. But isn't it just as valuable that someone wants to give us something that they themselves don't have? Isn't it just as much of a good deed and the right thing to do to want to give, even if you can't give? I mean, simple example. Imagine you're sick, you need a kidney, and someone is ready to give you their kidney. They love you, and they're just one of those good people, decent people, that when they see someone in need and they can't help, they want to help. But simply the blood types don't match. It's impossible. They can't give you your kidney. It wouldn't be good for you. So they can't do it. But do we then say, oh, well, then there's nothing to be grateful about? No. In actually many cases, wanting to do the same thing is doing it. There's really no difference. In intent, in rationality, in their mindset, in who they are and their personality, how valuable they are as a person, as a relationship to you, there's no difference whatsoever. But we glance over those people because we see, oh, they have nothing to give, so there's no point in associating with them. There's no point in looking into them further. There's no point in seeing what kind of person they are, because at the end of the day, we're looking to surround ourselves with kind, decent, honest, nice, good people. And if we just look at how people might benefit us, what resources they might have, what connections they might have, then we're going to miss a whole lot of people, arguably even the best, kindest, most honest, most decent people that are around us. And really just from now on, watch yourself. Every time you do the right thing, whether it just be driving in traffic or big things like we kind of alluded to, look at yourself. You look at your own behavior more than others. If you feel that frustration, if you feel wanting to label someone as ungrateful, there's something going on within you and not them.